Hello, I'm the Renegade Gamer, and we're doing something a little different today. I haven't done one of these in a long time. So, I went to your local Walmart and I purchased a film. And I usually buy these for my daughter, but I always watch them before I actually give them to her. Hang on one second, see if I can get a little more light. What I got here was this. This is Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. It's an original film. Now, I'm a fan of Scooby-Doo. I've watched it in my 37 years of existence, and yeah, it's cheesy. It's a lot of times not the smartest show in the world, but it was always entertaining. Have they had their ups and downs? Of course. A lot of their movies are, not exactly masterpieces, but they pass the time. They're good. And there's never really anything I found in them that are that bad. And my daughter likes Scooby-Doo, so don't watch this film. I really do mean that. I don't know if you. Okay, I'm just going to get into it. This film is not really designed. What's the best way to put this? I don't know who this film's for. Okay. The reason I say that is because back in the 80s, around 83 to 85, somewhere around there, I don't remember exactly. I was really young. I was about 4. And they had a show on called Scooby-Doo and the 13 Ghosts, if I recall. That was the name of it. This is a pseudo-sequel to it. That show, if I remember, it only had like 12 episodes. And they captured 12 ghosts in the entirety of the series. And they never really go anywhere with it because the show was canceled. I think it was only 3 months it was on television. It was canceled right at the end, so you never really got a resolution to it. Now, you may be sitting there, well, that's a great idea because, you can actually make a movie and resolution to that. Yeah. See, here's the thing. In the show, all the monsters were real. There was a demon chest. You capture the monsters and you put them in the demon chest. The monsters were real. They weren't the usual Scooby-Doo thing where, you pull the mask off as Farmer Joe or whatever. If they were chasing down a ghoul or a demon, some kind of imp or something, that was real. And that's the premise of this film, is that this is the 13th ghost from that demon chest. Except that the ghost that they're chasing, and this is a spoiler, isn't real. There's a lot wrong with this movie. There's a lot wrong with this film. I gotta say, to put it bluntly, there's quite a few problems. And I'm gonna go over a couple of them. Okay, so in the old show, there was a character named Flim Flam. The old cast of characters in the original show was Vincent Price doing Vincent Van Gogh, or Ghoul, sorry. He was basically the kind of Professor Xavier for the group. You had Daphne, you had Shaggy, you had Scooby, Scrappy, and Flim Flam. And the leadership of the group kind of went between Flim Flam for the most part and Daphne sometimes. But if I recall right, it was mostly Flim Flam. And he was just a small kid. It was a little bit annoying. Now, the reason I bring that up is because in this film, your normal group of the normal Mystery Machine, Mystery Incorporated people are, of course, Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby. Now, Fred and Velma weren't in that original show of the 13th Ghost, but they're in this film. The reason this is problematic is because what the film tries to do. Now, I want to make this clear. I don't have an issue exactly if you want to make a film where you want to put one of the other characters that is in the group as the leader. That's fine. I really don't mind that. What I do mind is the treatment of one character in this film throughout the entirety of it. Look, Fred is the de facto leader of the Mystery Incorporated. I don't mind it. I mean, we all know that Fred's not exactly the most brilliant person in the world, okay? But he is there and is always pushing everything forward as far as the leadership goes. This movie, they moved the leadership position to Daphne. And they treat Fred like a complete and total idiotic moron at every chance he gets. It's quite incompetent in the way they show Fred almost every time he's on screen. And it's aggravating. Because despite all of his flaws, he's not without some merits. It isn't that he's not... I mean, yes, he's not the brightest guy in the world, but he's also not the dumbest guy in the world I've ever seen. But in this movie, he's portrayed as completely and totally dumber than a rock. Velma. Velma is almost damn near insufferable in this film. She comes off as very smug. I get that she's a skeptic of the group. I get that. She's always been the skeptic of the group. The problem is that when you're dealing with real monsters, yeah, you can have the skeptic there, but there does come a point in time that if they're real, your skepticism has to just kind of go away. You have to accept the fact that this is what you're dealing with. And one of the worst things in the film that happens is she explains everything at the very end. By the way, I'll get to the end in a minute. But she explains everything in the end and tries to use logic and reasoning to explain all this stuff. And the problem is that if you ever sat down and watched this film, or if you ever sat down and watched the original series, not the original, the 13 Ghosts, you know the monsters are all real throughout that. There's no getting around it. They are. Yes, she's trying to explain that they are all just hallucinations from, like, being in Himalayas, lack of oxygen, stuff like this. But you, the viewer, you are well aware that these things are all real. It's kind of like that the writers of this film had no regard towards had very little regard or respect towards the old material, which is a damn shame, because the old material wasn't great exactly, but it wasn't terrible either. It had a good premise, and this here could have been a great film, but there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of stuff holding it back. I would say about 3/4 of the film is, for the most part, okay. It's not really till the third act that the movie just completely goes and falls apart. There's good points in that third act, but it completely falls apart. Let's see, where do I even start? Okay, so in the final act, the creature they've been chasing throughout the entire the show of the movie is, I think his name is Astrodamus, or Astrodamus. Anyway, it's a giant demon, and it comes to be revealed that it was actually Vincent Van Gogh's great great grandfather, from like many years ago. Yeah, he was a giant warlock. He lost all his powers, and he was a warlock who gained his powers and lost his humanity in the process and became one of the demons, and then was trapped in the chest. Okay, and then when the chest was reopened, he escaped. That was a cool idea. I like that. That was good. The problem is it turns out that the Astrodamus that you've been chasing this entire time, they go with the normal stick of the Scooby-Doo route. They yank it out. They finally capture him. They yank his mask off, and it turns out to be Vincent Van Gogh's assistant. Sorry if I'm spoiling this film, but I mean, really, you're not missing anything if you don't watch it, okay? It turns out to be his assistant, which completely kills the premise of the film right there. I'm going to rewrite the movie right here for a second, just offer a different stand on what you could have did that would have improved it. Keep the premise real. Have all the monsters as real. There was another character in the film. It was a old guy I don't remember the guy's name, unfortunately, in the movie, but he is everywhere that they are at. And he was at a yard sale, and then he's at here. If you want to use the Van Gogh's assistant, have him actually be that character. And that he's been trying to get in contact with Vincent Van Gogh forever. Something like that. That way you can still have your reunion between Vincent Van Gogh and that assistant, and still have the confrontation with the monster. It's not perfect, but it would have been a better resolution than this. Because this, it makes no sense. Vincent Van Gogh and his assistant, when they first found the demon chest, they accidentally opened it. They went through, they captured all the demons. And in the process, the assistant is believed to be killed. Okay. And then Scooby-Doo and Shaggy accidentally opened up the demon chest years later and let the monsters out. The reason that the assistant wants the demon chest is so he can sell it off for a huge amount of money. Except that the demon chest has all the fucking monsters in it, and if it's ever opened by human hands, it creates basically the apocalypse. It's not a very smart villain motivation there. That's my point. It would have made a lot more sense just to have had, like the monsters be real. And, the guy's been trying to get in contact with Vincent Van Gogh. Hadn't been able to locate him or something like that, Let's see, there's other issues in this. Like I said, okay, we addressed Velma's skepticism, Fred's incompetence in this film. There's a lot of just meanness towards Fred in this film for some reason. Daphne, I gotta be honest, I don't really have a problem with Daphne per se. I really don't. But she, and I'm not saying that she couldn't pull this off, but to me, Daphne's always been that one there that's just, she's a character I like, but she's never been the character that I think of most capable, I guess. It doesn't ever work. I don't know. She's fine in the film. It's just that I think the treatment of Fred in this film really dampers my opinion of her in this movie a little bit. Let's see, what else? What else here was here that was bugging me? Oh, Flim Flam. So Flim Flam does show up in this film, and he's fine. There's no problems with him. I don't have an issue with Flim Flam. I think it would have worked better if he would have worked with the entirety of the group and not just Film and Fred. But pretty much he's here just as an extended cameo in a lot of ways. Scrappy is mentioned, and then completely thrown away. Look, I know that he's not a popular character. I get that. But let's face facts. Scrappy happened. If they're going to keep bringing him up, they need to address that at some point. But, all right. But there was a lot of cool things in this movie I like. I like the fact that they incorporated the 13 Ghosts into the Scooby-Doo lore, pretty much. Basically, while Fred and Velma were off at the camp one year, the last year or something like that, all the events of the 13 Ghosts had happened. And it also provided a backstory for Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and why they're so damn scared of ghosts all the times, because they've actually fought 12 of these bastards. Yeah, so I liked that. That was cool. That was a really cool premise. That was interesting. It was a good background story. There's some, like I said, there's elements in this film that would work well, and it could. I'm not saying this could have been the best Scooby-Doo movie, because I don't think that. But there was a lot of stuff here that did have potential. This is what I would say is potential incarnate. It's just that they bungled up a lot of stuff, and I'm really not sure who the fuck this film is for. And the reason I say that is because you're following up on a mystery that was from over 35 years ago, which meaning that if you were in that era, you're probably in either your mid-30s or early 40s, and the fact that you may be in either you may not even watch Scooby-Doo anymore or not care anymore, And the other problem is that that Scooby-Doo's made for, roughly about 5 to 10-year-olds, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older. And they probably have never seen the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. So they're going to be a little bit lost on this. I mean, I watched 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo way back in the day, and hell, there was parts of this film I was a little bit lost on that I didn't remember real well. But I'm just saying, I'm not sure who this film was created for. If you wanted to make this movie, that's fine. It's just that it should have been used a lot more care put into it than what it was. Anything else? I guess that's about all I have to say. For the most part, all the vocal performances in this film are fine. The animation is fine for the most part. It's a Warner Brothers film. Most of the time, the animation in these are really good. It had an interesting premise. It fumbled it. And I don't know. It's... I probably will watch this again, but it is not high on my list of films to watch, especially in Scooby-Doo. If you want to watch a good Scooby-Doo or a good alternative one, I would suggest Zombie Island is a good choice. The Mystery of the Witch's Ghost. Let's see, what else? Cyber Chase is decent. Also, the Legend of Flatosaurus. That's the name of that one. There's a few other. There's other choices out here you could choose that are a lot better choices than this one. But anyway, so I'm just Scooby-Doo. I am the Renegade Gamer, and like I said, this has just been an off the wall thing. It's something I watched and I just had to get out of me. Anyway, y'all take it easy. I'll catch you next time. Till then, wait, I just screwed up my catch line. Anyway, whatever. Take it easy. I'll see you later.